Hey guys, it's PS. Riot released their evaluation and thoughts on Preseason 10 a few days ago. Also, we can see how 9.24b patch will be like. It is very important to know how Riot analyzes the current patch version. They have the most amount of data and do the balanced patch. And we have to adjust our playstyle and meta based on the changes by Riot balance team. Today, we'll discuss about Riot's evaluation on the preseason. 9.24b is considered as a regular patch happening every other week. It simply balances champions and items. Before we talk about them in depth, let's focus on Riot's opinion on dragons. Dragons were the most important change in this preseason. Everyone valued dragons differently since no one knew which will be the new meta or which strategy will be the best. But everyone agreed that the Dragon Soul buff was too OP, and Elder was even more OP that ends the game. The issue was on elemental dragons. We thought taking 3 dragons granted a big advantage, so taking first and second dragons was important regardless of subtle effects of elemental dragons. In Season 9, Mountain helped on Baron Burst, or 2 Infernal gained a significant stat buff. Now, there are not many ways to end the game before Baron. Thus, we mentioned that Riot is trying to patch to increase the average game length. Some people argued that you can give up first 2 dragons and contest on the 3rd dragon since it's harder to take. People also questioned on Rift Herald. For example, are dragons generally better than Rift, or is using Rift to get turret plating gold better? Now, how is Riot thinking about dragons? Basically, they thought dragons were too good. It's just too good, it had too much value, most games depended on dragon fights. Among elemental dragons, Ocean is the best, Infernal and Mountain are about the same, and Cloud has significantly low value. We mentioned these data between win rates with different elemental dragons. If Riot actually makes a change based on their evaluation, the importance of Rift Herald will increase relative to dragons. Based on our data, the win rates of getting Rift and Mountain were similar, and Cloud win rate is significantly low. But Riot is nerfing every dragons except Cloud, so maybe the Rift will become more valuable. Since the dragon buffs will be nerfed, the average game length may get longer as well. The actual patch direction is the following. Every Dragon Soul and Dragon except Cloud is getting nerfed. The following data shows that taking 4 dragons has a win rate of 87 to 93%, which is way too high even though the team in advantage usually takes 4 dragons. This makes the losing team even harder to come back. Riot probably thought of this as well, so they are nerfing all the dragons. Elder's duration and the burn damage are getting nerfed, but Elder will still be very significant due to the execution. For your reference, the win rate with Elder Dragon was about 86% due to a possibility of steal. Next, let's talk about the lethality items patch. This preseason put AD Assassin mid champions in a challenging position. Riot thinks that AD Assassins should get more buff than AP mages. Both Serrated Dirk and Edge of Night are planned to get 5 more AD. Serrated Dirk buff will give more power to AD Assassins in early game. We wonder how you think of current AD Assassins, but Kiana is still OP now, so she'll go insane next patch. Next, it's time for the new support items. Riot seems to be content with the current support items. They are well aware of lacking gold supply in late game, so they are considering to make support quests a little harder to complete, so that supports have longer time to get gold from the item. Users have different opinions on support items. Some people thought you could spend gold on buying other items, but it was harder to build cooldown reduction. We should keep an eye on the next patch since Riot did not mention anything else on this patch. However, they plan to have a stark difference between support items, which can mean to increase the influence of support in early game. We can have a clearer view once Riot releases a definite patch plan. Let's look into the frequency of new champion release and balancing champions. Lately, new champions were released too often. Riot mentioned that they want to slow down a bit. Since League is getting old, we expect to see more complicated champions like Aphelios. For the balancing, let's start from Heimerdinger. Bottom Dinger was outraging, so he's finally getting nerfed. Shaco had pretty high win rates for jungle and support with low pick rate, so he will get nerfed as well. Aphelios had way too strong Calibrum, and he was just purely strong. I'm sure you've seen a lot of pentakill Aphelios or quadra-kill Aphelios videos. Even though he was designed to be very difficult to master, it felt easier since he was purely strong. Thus, he's getting nerfed. Alistar is getting buffed. Since support has low influence in the game now, we mentioned that Riot will buff support champions starting from Braum instead of nerfing Nautilus, Blitz, Leona, or Thresh. Braum and Ali both countered those supports. and we expect to see more of this kind of balancing patch. Nami and Janna may get buffed even though they are not listed. Ezreal and Garen got demolished last patch. Ezreal has very low win rate, so he's getting a fair buff, not because Riot loves him. Also, Gnar and Graves are getting small buffs as well. However, champions such as Azir that are low tier are not getting buffed. Will they get balanced later? 2019 was a wild year to have a balanced game due to champions like Sylas, Yuumi, Tahm Kench, Akali, and more. Sylas failed to be balanced for a long time, and now he's nerfed way too much. But he's planned to be patched in a way that will buff for low elo players and nerf for high elo players in patch 10.1. This is the hardest plan. We won't look into him too much, but the patch will either make his laning phase harder with better scaling, make him a laner instead of a jungler, or make him easier to play and remove the shield that allowed his unfair trade. The last option will be similar to Rice remake. We'll review Sylas again when it gets patched in main server, but if you are really curious, PvE Sylas will be discussed in the end of the video. Today, we talked about Riot's evaluation of the preseason. We'll come back with OP and hidden OP champions for each lane based on the data in 9.24. We'll try to help you see a bigger scene, so it's worth to subscribe. Thank you.
Return to your master, like the lapdog you are.